نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا تكونوا كالذين قالوا سمعنا وهم لا يسمعون إن شر الدواب عند الله الصم البكم الذين لا يعقلون بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم استغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم الأمين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, it's a great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given me and you the ability and tawfiq to participate in this gathering, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering a source of guidance for all of us. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering one of the means of our entry to Jannah. Inshallah, tonight I will share some reflections with you from two ayat of Surah Al-Anfal. It's verse number 21 and 22 of Surah Al-Anfal. And I promise you, even though it's two ayat, but it's going to be really short, so don't worry, inshallah. In these two ayat, basically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about an act of listening. So probably if I see any one of you sleeping, I may ask you to stand up and then do some sort of exercise to keep you awake, because these ayat is about listening, an act of listening. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ قَالُوا سَمِعْنَا وَهُمْ لَا يَسْمَعُونَ وَلَا تَكُونُوا. Don't become like those people who say, سَمِعْنَا, we have heard, فَهُمْ لَا يَسْمَعُونَ. But as a matter of fact, they don't really hear. They're not really listening. They say we hear, but in reality they're not really listening. So don't become a passive listener. This ayah, it has a very profound implication on what kind of listener we should become. You know, nowadays, mashallah, there are some youngsters who are sitting here, so they can relate to this point. Nowadays we are very much exposed to media, and many different kinds of medias. So we are listening to something, and then at the same time we are watching something else, and then at the same time we are talking to our parents. So we are taking in multiple things, and we are not paying attention to only one thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you should become people who when they listen to something, they give all of their attention to that thing. You know, nowadays it's very common to find people sitting in a Jummah gathering, listening to Jummah khutbah, or in a dars gathering, or in a reminder gathering, or in a lecture, or in any kind of gathering. Even though they are sitting there, as a matter of fact, probably some of you, while I'm talking, so I don't want to be judgmental and don't want to offend anyone, but it's a very human nature. While I'm talking and while you're listening to me, maybe some of you, in your mind, you're thinking about a fight that you just had at your home. Maybe you're just thinking about a Facebook status that you just read before coming to the mosque. Maybe you're thinking about the cash and carry that you have to do in the morning. Or maybe you're thinking about when Mulana is going to finish this dars so that I can go back home and I can sleep. It's a very human nature. It is. So we are half here listening to the dars or listening to tafseer, and we are half somewhere else. Allah says, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ. Don't become like these people. You know, when they have heard something, when they say that we have heard something, they're not actually listening. They say that we have heard, but they're not actually listening. And of course, in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about an etiquette. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about an adab that we are supposed to show to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is mentioned, when the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are mentioned, when the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam are mentioned, we are supposed to listen. And we are supposed to listen carefully. We don't just listen for the sake of listening. We listen. So this is the first bit of advice in these ayah. The first bit of advice, it's a concentration span. So when you listen to someone or when you listen to something, because in this ayah, the ayah is not telling you who should you listen to. وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ قَالُوا سَمِعْنَا. Whoever they listen. So whoever you listen to, pay attention to it. It's a matter of etiquette now. It's a matter of etiquette. That we should become an active listener. So now when your teacher is talking to you, put your phone down and listen to your teacher. When your parents, more importantly, when your parents are talking to you, put your phone down. Put your phone away. Don't do anything. Let it go, because it will cause you a distraction. Don't look out of the window when your parents are talking to you. It's a disrespect. When your parents tell you, put your phone down, or put your pen down, or put your pencil down, or na'uz billah, if they ever tell you to put the iPad down, this is a gunai kabira nowadays, a major sin. If a parent tells his child, put your iPad down, it's a big thing. So if they tell you to do something, you just listen to them, and you do what they want you to do. قَالُوا سَمِعْنَا وَهُمْ لَا يَسْمَعُونَ. This is the first bit of advice. Become an active listener. When you listen to something, you really listen to it. The second part of the advice of the same ayah, or the second meaning of the same ayah, is that there are some people who, when they listen, they are really listening. They are really, really listening. They are paying attention. They are concentrating. They are really listening. But then they don't internalize anything. They don't. They listen, and they listen with full concentration, but then they don't internalize anything. This word listening, it's a very interesting word. In Urdu, in Punjabi, in Farsi, in Arabic, even in English, it's an interesting word. So sometimes we say that, I tried to give them advice, but they didn't listen to me. What does this mean? They didn't listen to me. They didn't hear me, or they didn't hear anything? No. They didn't listen to me, meaning that they didn't take the advice seriously. They didn't heed the advice. They didn't live by it. Nothing was changed in them. I'm trying to give you advice, but you're not listening to me. You're not listening to me, meaning that you're not accepting what I'm telling you. You're not accepting. So Allah is saying, don't become like these people. When they listen to some kind of advice, or when they hear some kind of advice, they say, yeah, we already know. We already got that advice. We've already heard that advice. But you know for yourself that you're not taking this advice seriously. You're not taking advice realistically. You're not taking heed. You're just brushing it off. It's a ceremonial kind of thing for you. It's a tradition for you. So you come and you sit and you listen, and you know for sure that there's nothing going to change in you. After even you listen to the reminder, there's nothing going to change in you. You know it. And subhanAllah, I was doing the preparation for this tafsir class, and I came to realize that it is so true for most of us. I'm not an exception here. If I'm an Imam Sahib and I'm giving a lecture, it doesn't mean that I'm an exception. I'm as guilty as the rest of you people. So many times we go to Jummah khutbah and we sit down in a masjid, and Imam Sahib bichara, poor Imam Sahib, he's giving an advice. Maybe he's a Pakki Mulana like me. Maybe he's a Pakki Mulana. But he's giving advice from Quran and Sunnah. Yeah, he's giving an advice. We go there, we listen to him, and we know that, we are listening to something, but we are never going to put it into our practice. We never. It's a ceremonial thing for us. We go, we listen, but we know we're never going to act upon it. And by the way, if your guidance counselor, if he gives you any kind of advice, you listen. You really listen. If your doctor gives you advice, you listen. If your accountant, mashallah, if a Hafiz Sahib gives you advice, you listen. If a police officer tells you to do something, you really listen. You really, really listen. But when Allah tells you something, when Allah tells me something, when our parents tell us something, when Quran tells us something, when that poor Imam tells us something, what do? We don't really listen. We don't. That's what Allah is saying. وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ. Don't become like these people who say, we have heard, but they're not really listening. So this is the first part of that, or this is the first ayah. And then in the second ayah, Allah did something amazing. Listen to this carefully now. Allah did something amazing in the second ayah. First Allah said that there are these people, they say, we have heard, but they're not really listening. But then in the next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compares them, and all of us who don't hear things properly, who don't listen properly, Allah compares all of us to the animals. He compares us to animals. And why does He compare us to animals? Is he really angry? That's why He's comparing us to animals? No. He's comparing us to animals because there's a pretty cool parallel here. There's a beautiful parallel here. You give a lecture to an animal, you don't expect any change in him. You can give him a lecture for an hour long, and there will be no response, no reaction from that animal, and there's nothing going to change in that animal. So Allah says, if you hear a reminder, a beautiful reminder, it doesn't change anything in you. It doesn't impact you, it doesn't change anything. Your behavior doesn't change, nothing changes. Then it's like the experience of giving you advice is pretty much like an experience of giving a monkey advice, or a cat advice, or you give a cow an advice. You know there is nothing going to change in them. You know that. Their behaviors are not going to change. Nothing in them is never going to change. So Allah says, that's why you are like animals. Inna sharra dawabi indallah. First Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that indeed the worst form of animals, the worst kind of animals, first Allah calls us worst kind of animals. Worst kind of animals are those which are summun bukmun. Those animals which are sum and buk. You all know what is the meaning of sum and buk. Sum buk means mute and deaf. They can't speak and they can't hear. And then Allah says, La ya'qilun, and they don't even realize that they can't hear and they can't speak. First thing is that if you are a disabled person, you have a hearing problem, you have a speaking problem, and you realize that, okay, I have this weakness in me. But Allah says, they don't even realize that they have these problems. Last bit of advice, then I finish inshallah. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, these are the worst kind of animals, who can't hear, who can't speak. Why? Because technically speaking, even in this dunya, let's put aside religion. Just talk about this world and this dunya. Technically speaking, if you don't listen properly, you will never be able to communicate your thoughts properly. Never. If you are a deaf, automatically you are mute. If you can't listen, then you can't say. Right? There are times in a class when teacher comes and he says, listen to this carefully because you have to repeat it to me tomorrow. So we listen carefully. In an Arabic there is a saying, Asa'a sam'an fa asa'a ijabatan. Right? Is that the saying? People are sleeping, so they don't know. Asa'a sam'an fa asa'a ijabatan. You heard poorly, you listened poorly, that's why you responded poorly. This is a saying in Arabic language. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in these two ayat, in other words Allah is telling us, that if you don't listen carefully, you won't be able to answer carefully. You won't be. Now I want you to think about this. Maybe in this dunya, I may not be listening carefully. But for sure I can speak. Even if I'm not listening carefully. I can speak. But the day of judgment comes. And on the day of judgment, the only person who will be able to speak is someone who used to listen carefully in this dunya. When we will be put in our graves, and we all know that hadith, when we will be put in our graves, an angel will come. And he's going to ask us this question, Man Rabbuka, who is your Rabb? And the ulama said, the scholars have said, the only people who will be able to answer that question, you can say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah thousands of times in this dunya. But the only people who will be able to answer this question in their qabr when an angel come and ask, Man Rabbuka, are those who used to listen carefully. They took advice seriously. They took heed, they internalized that advice, and then they lived by that advice. They will be able to answer that question. Otherwise, other people who never listen carefully, they won't be able to answer this question. Maybe you are Muslim, maybe we are Muslims. We spend our entire life acknowledging ourselves that we are Muslims, but in our qabr we won't be able to answer that question because we never listened carefully. Allah says, think about that day. If you don't listen to me carefully, you won't be able to answer on the day of judgment. That's why Allah says the worst kind of animals are those who can't speak and who can't hear. فَهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. They don't even realize that they have this disability. They have this disability. They don't even realize it. The reason I'm sharing this ayat with you, my final comments, is that I finished the Jummah khutbah today. I went back home. I got a text message from a brother that someone left his jacket, by mistake, someone left his jacket in the wudu area, and when he came back to pick up his jacket, he realized that somebody has already stolen something from the jacket. Today's entire khutbah, mashallah, most of you brothers were here in the Jummah khutbah. Today's entire khutbah was about looking ourselves into mirror and correcting our mistakes. Yeah. Instead of blaming other people why they are banning hijab, why they're making fun of Rasulullah, why they're making fun of Islam and this kind of stuff, let's look into ourselves first, because these tragedies are going to happen. But we have to get the help of Allah. And how do we get the help of Allah? You have to earn it. It doesn't come for free. It doesn't just show up. You have to earn, and in order to make it earn, in order to earn the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to make certain kind of effort. You have to be honest. You can't lie, you can't cheat, you can't steal from people. And you are in the house of Allah, for God's sake, you are doing wudu and you stole something from a jacket. And it hurts me so much. And I was thinking, which reminder should I share with my brothers today? Which can be a reminder for me and for all of us. Is that we hear things every single day, we hear reminders from here. And I've told you this before, Jazakumullah khair for giving me that opportunity. I don't know if you are benefiting from me or not, but I am greatly benefiting from all of you. All these things that I learned in Pakistan, Jamia Shafia, they didn't benefit me the way all these things are benefiting me after I became an Imam here. Because when I give you advice, I feel responsible now. I need to become an example first and foremost. People are going to look up to me now. And maybe I don't have this kind of attitude if I was not an Imam here, if I was not sharing reminders with all of you on a daily basis. There is a huge difference, brothers. Like I was saying, there is a huge difference between us and Sahaba. They were made fun of, and we are being made fun of, but there is a huge difference. Sahaba would go to places, go to any kind of place, they won't deliver lectures. They don't give reminders, long reminders. Today we give da'wah. How do we give da'wah? We go to places and we give da'wah for hours and hours and hours. We have, there is nothing wrong in them. Na'uzubillah, I'm not criticizing them. But we have these gatherings that we have gatherings in the month of Rabiul Awwal, then in Muharram, then in Ramadan. We have these huge gatherings where we invite all the scholars and they come and they talk for hours and hours and hours and hours. And listen to them. What was the way of Sahaba? They would go to places, they don't even know the language. They go to places and they would just say 2 words in Arabic. 2 words in Arabic, and in English 3 words. Kunu mithlana. Be like us. That's it. That was their da'wah. Be like us. People wanted to become like them. And they would become like them. Today you ask a non-Muslim, ask our neighborhood. Ask people in our neighborhood. Do they even want to come into Iqra? Forget about accepting Islam and this kind of... Do they even want... What have we done for them? What have we done for them? Forget about other people. Let's talk about the people who come into the masjid, do their wuzu and left their jacket in the wudu area. If that's kind of example we are setting, then وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ, then we are worse than animals. Allah is giving us reminders after reminders after reminders after reminders. And one last request that I have to make to all of you. You brothers know that whenever I lead the salah, it's a routine now for last I believe 1 year, that I read 2 pages every day. And I always encourage you brothers, kindly look at the translation. Because from Fajr to Isha, whenever I read my salah out loud, whenever it's a Jahri salah and I read my salah out loud, I only read 2 pages. I always request brothers, kindly read the translation of those 2 pages. You don't have to read the tafseer, just the translation of those 2 pages. So for example, but the thing that I was reading, the ruku that I was reading, Allah was comparing us with the non-believers. And the kind of qualities that Allah was mentioning of them, for example, Allah said, وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَسْتَمِعُ إِلَيْكَ. Some of them, they listen to you. Some of the disbelievers, they listen to you, meaning Rasulullah. Who am I in front of Rasulullah? If Prophet is giving a reminder, and the person is sitting in that gathering and listening to that reminder. He listens to the reminder, but as soon as he leaves your gathering and he goes back to his people, he says, what was he saying? مَاذَا قَالَ آنِفًا. I can't even remember what was he saying. This is the same kind of attitude we have. In a gathering, alhamdulillah, we are listening, and we will raise Nara Takbir, Allahu Akbar, Nara Risalat, Ya Rasulullah, and all these kinds of Nara and slogans. We do it. But as soon as we leave a gathering, not even leave, even in a masjid, the gathering is over, and we forget. We will look into it, but the point that I was trying to make is that we listen to these reminders, and we try to bring those reminders into our life. We live Islam. We don't only learn Islam, we live Islam. The first revelation was Iqra. Educate yourself about your revelation. But educate yourself about the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the second revelation was Qum fa'anzir. Stand up and now call. Stand up means let's now start acting upon it. Calling people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us understanding. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who are people of thought, who are active listeners. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the strength of character. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the strength of feel so that we can live by whatever we listen, especially when it comes to the reminder from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah keep us in happiness.